Welcome back to the NPH Hour here on News Talk Saga 960 AM. I'm your host, Jason Thom, here along with you as we continue on our programming journey. There has been more changes in the NCAA, and specifically basketball, over the last year than we have seen in total for the last few decades. Just recently, players have been given the opportunity to use their name, image, or likeness for their benefit, either in the form of money or services. That means a star player for an NCAA program could be in a commercial for a local car dealership, or sign a deal with a national brand, or simply be paid to advertise on social media to their followers. Of course, they would still not be able to use their school's logo or name in order to do this, and the institution they are attending must be notified of these agreements and would be able to say no to a deal if it negatively impacted a sponsorship the program already has in existence. While there is still a push for student athletes to get a cut of the billions of dollars that the NCAA and their programs make off of the television revenue and apparel they sell, it doesn't seem as though that is going to happen anytime soon, as it would go against the mandate of amateur athletics, which the NCAA has hung on to so dearly for so long. Another big change over the last few years has been the loosening of the transfer policy, which affected student athletes that want to change schools within their 5 years of NCAA eligibility. Previously, players were forced to sit out an entire calendar year at minimum in order to become eligible for their new team. Now, the player and or their new team could petition the NCAA for a waiver due to certain hardships, but the decision of that student-athlete's future laid in the hands of the NCAA decision-makers. Now, this rule did not affect grad transfers. Student-athletes that finished their 4 years of academic study with a school would be allowed to move on to another program for their final year of eligibility and essentially just play basketball while attending some classes. The rule, though, has changed, and players are now allowed to transfer one time during their first 4 years without penalty, which is probably the way it should have been the whole time. It has gotten so loose that the NCAA's transfer portal became the new trend during this offseason, and currently there are still over 1,000 male student athletes sitting there in limbo without knowing where they are going to play next year, if at all. One player who was caught up in the old transfer rules was Marcus Carr, who left the University of Pittsburgh after the coaches that recruited him there were fired after a very disappointing season. Despite a waiver and support from very vocal college basketball media, Carr was forced to sit out over a year and a half from competing in NCAA games, and while he was allowed to practice with the team, the decision was widely viewed as hypocritical because other athletes in similar situations were granted a waiver to play. But now, it's all a distant memory, because Carr's 3 seasons in Minnesota following his transfer were simply outstanding. From working his way into the lineup in year 1 to putting his all-around with a focus on his pass-first skills on display in year 2, to almost averaging 20 points a game and becoming a regular on highlight shows in the U.S. in year 3 with his superior and clutch shot-making ability on display. Carr made the most of the years following his forced extended layoff, so when he put his name into the early entry for the NBA draft, no one was surprised. When rumors swirled that there was an offer to play professionally in Australia for big money, no one was surprised. And when he decided to remain in the NCAA and join a powerhouse Big 12 school in the University of Texas, who just hired a new coach and have a huge incoming class, no one was surprised. Carr was in a situation where he really couldn't go wrong in his next step, which is where he deserved to be. After the patience and work he put in ever since he was a grade 9 student in Toronto at St. Michael's College, the same school where his older brother Duane Notice attended before heading to a U.S. prep school and then the University of South Carolina. And it's the similarities yet differences in basketball paths that everyone can learn from in order to reach their ultimate goal. But for Marcus, the immediate goal is the only thing on his mind entering this college season. Marcus Carr, Toronto native, incoming University of Texas guard, following a long line of Canadians that have worn the burnt orange of the Longhorns. Marcus, when you enjoy great success, more and more possibilities arise, and that's where you find yourself this summer. You could have kept your name in the draft, could have signed overseas, started your pro career. Instead, you take advantage of an additional collegiate season. How happy are you to have your decision behind you and now just get to work in Texas?
Yeah, it's definitely, kind of a huge weight off my shoulders. Just going through that process, obviously every day, it was fun, to be honest, just, getting to do that, getting better, getting feedback every day. And then, just really learning from a lot of great basketball minds and really just putting in work. But, now that, I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm gonna be at, and, it's kind of a singular focus. It's definitely a weight off my shoulders.
You've always been super mature, but going through this process, how much has it helped you, like as a person and as a player? Like, has it given you more insight in general of what you need to do as you continue on your path?
Yeah, for sure. Just getting that feedback and as well just growing, taking the time through this summer and, just being around pros every day, approaching the game like that, and just seeing how, I could implement that to myself and, bring it into this season has been huge for me. So I definitely didn't take the opportunity for granted. I'm taking everything I learned and, it's definitely going to help me coming up this season.
If you make a list of reasons why returning made the most sense, it's very long, right? Going to a power school, brand new coach, it all just makes perfect sense. But with all the options that you had laid out in front of you, which were plentiful, like I mentioned, why was this the way to go?
Well, first and foremost, just, the relationship I built with Coach Beard. He was willing to, wait out for me, talking to a lot of different schools, especially early on. Once they kind of heard I was going to be going through the process, they didn't really want to, take that chance and wait on me. But, Coach Beard, stuck with me, trusted me. And, in turn, I had trust in him. And he knew, he was rooting for me the whole time. He was hoping that, I would move on and, hopefully go and get drafted. He's always just expressed that he's a fan of mine. So, yeah, just his willingness to, kind of be patient, wait through my process, let me go through what I had to go through. And then, the relationship that we built. And then, of course, like you said, coming to Texas is no brand like this one. And, the goal is to definitely, win a national championship. So, that's all we're focused on. And we kind of see eye to eye on that. And, our goals pretty much aligned. So decided this is the right fit for me.
I've been lucky enough to get to know you as a person, and your game really emulates your character. You play and you just have a great pace about you and just very level-headed. How much did that help you in your decision-making process? You mentioned Coach Beard didn't rush you. How important was it for you to kind of make this decision the same way you play the game almost?
Right. Super important. I just talking with, my people, my family, obviously playing in NBA it's always been the goal, always been my dream and, what I'm chasing. So just going through that process, I wanted to have 2 feet in. I wanted to be mentally locked in on it and have that be my only focus. And kind of like I said, Coach Beard, he understood that. He supported me. He understood that, it wouldn't make sense if I was just half stepping in, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So, he wanted to let me be me and go through what I had to go through. And, eventually it turned out well.
So looking back at the early part of your NCAA career, you're forced to sit out a year after you left Pitt. You transfer to Minnesota. How does it feel to now be in a position where you can choose where you go? You don't have to sit out. Players can now monetize off name and likeness. In the end, considering kind of how this all started, does it seem like everything you went through was now worth it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a believer in everything happens for a reason. So, obviously, when you go through things, you go through challenges at the time, it's super tough, and you might find yourself asking why. But in hindsight, looking back on it, I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't go through those things. So, I'm always grateful for everything that I've been through and what I've learned from it. And I'm really just super blessed to be in this position now, and definitely super blessed to be in the burnt orange.
So I have to take you back to that time because you sat out 20 months because of that transfer policy that the NCAA did have in place, not anymore. But did you have any really tough times during that stretch? And if you did, like, how did you deal with them? And then how did you turn that into an advantage? Because it obviously was something that resulted in great things the way you have played since then.
Right. Yeah. No. It was definitely super tough. Not being able to play, but physically being able to play. Kind of like just having somebody kind of have your career in their hands is definitely super tough. So I definitely went through a lot just mentally. Whether it was seeing my team maybe drop a close game and just thinking like, man, if I was out there, I definitely could have helped us win. Definitely could have made a difference. Felt like I could have pushed us deeper in that tournament run that they had. But like I said, I'm still grateful for it. There's a lot of things I learned that year, just kind of sitting on the sidelines, almost like a coach's perspective. That I really think I was able to put a lot of stuff into my game that was a result of kind of just watching and not being out there playing, just seeing the game through a different lens. So yeah, it definitely helped me. It wasn't something that I wanted to do, but it definitely helped me out.
I had your big brother Duane Notice on the show. He's rehabbing from a ruptured Achilles, and he said that you helped him a lot because he went through something similar while at Montverde when you tore your ACL. How did going through that help you with perspective when it came to the ups and downs of basketball that, sure enough, just a couple of years later, you were facing?
A lot, kind of like what I mentioned before, just not being able to play because somebody else said so, but with me being hurt, I couldn't play because I really couldn't play. So that was super tough to go through for me myself, and I really had to lean on my brother and my family to kind of just be there for me and let me know that this isn't the end. You could come back bigger and better and stronger. So kind of don't let this discourage you the most. So just taking that, putting it, implementing to myself. And then, once he got hurt, it was devastating for me to watch that and see that. So I really just wanted to be there for him every way I could, and, do the same thing that he did for me. And, me having gone through something similar, I was able to kind of just give him little bits and pieces, nothing too crazy. He's still my big brother. So it was kind of different and a little bit weird of, kind of talking to him through something that, I've been through first. This is one of the very few times, I've been through something before he did. So the roles kind of switched around, and I was kind of placed in that role to just letting him know, like, you got this, you worked all your life, you've been a workhorse. So, you kind of just have to attack the rehab that same way, and, you'll be able to come back, same, if not better.
You seem like a vet, right? But you just turned 22, and it feels like with everything you faced in your path, you're mature beyond your years. What would your advice be to younger players, especially here in Canada, who missed out on a year plus due to COVID and maybe facing an obstacle right now that they can't see past? Is there something that you would say to them, or have said to young guys like that are in that type of situation?
That whole COVID situation is crazy. I really felt for the kids back home who weren't able to play, weren't able to compete, and it really definitely kind of put us behind. We were obviously making strides and making our footprint as a basketball country, and people started recognizing us and respecting us. So the fact that unfortunately COVID happened, the pandemic happened, and they weren't able to just work, play, and really just lost out on about 18 months of basketball. I was fortunate enough to, be with, my former program, the Northern Kings, when they were down in Atlanta, and got to speak to the guys there and watch them play. And, they're still super talented. The talent is still there. The skill is still there, but you could just tell there's a little bit of a difference just because, our guys haven't been playing and stuff like that. So I really just try to emphasize to them, kind of just the urgency that they have to play with, because, they haven't been out there. They don't have that feel anymore. Just coming out there that nothing beats the work. If you go out there and play as hard as you can, that's going to eliminate a lot of the mistakes, or a lot of the rust that's there because you weren't playing and competing at a high level while at home during COVID. So just go out there and give it your all. It's unfortunate. It's something that was out of their control, but that's something I try to tell them as well. Just control what you can control. A lot of things are going to happen, not just this, but throughout your life and your career that are going to impact you. But you got to focus on the things that you can control, and that's always your energy and effort. So as long as you guys bring that on the court, everything will catch up. And I really think they took heed to that, and throughout the season, throughout game to game, to see them getting better. So if there's anybody else that, you know, is listening, that's something I'll definitely say is control what you can control. And yeah, just take it from there.
You're living proof of it, man. And we know not everything goes according to plan as it's, you know, been shown for your collegiate career, but what would be a perfect 12 months from now for you transitioning into 2022?
You know, my main focus is really just, you know, winning this national championship. You know, I just want to win. That's all I'm thinking about. You know, I know that, you know, even from feedback and even just past examples, you know, when winning takes care of everything pretty much. So I know if, you know, I'm able to come in here and compete with my guys. I've been here for 2 days and practice 2 days, and, you know, I already feel the energy. I love the intensity. I love the way these guys compete. So, you know, I'm ready to go to war with them already. And we all kind of have that common goal from the top down, from coach all the way to the last player, that, you know, we have this saying, we say we're doing this. So, you know, we're trying to get this done. We're trying to win this national championship. And that's my only focus right now. Everything after that, I feel like will take care of itself.
Wise beyond your years, man. Marcus Carr, I met you first through your big brother. He always said you were going to be special, both in sport and in life. He was right. I can't wait to see what your future holds. Thank you so much for coming on the NPH Hour.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Marcus Carr, a name I think you will hear called out in the 2022 NBA draft about a year from now. But even if his road to that level doesn't go through the draft, you can never count this young man out because he has always found a way. Next on the NPH Hour, we welcome a young female coach who has a wealth of different experiences in the Canadian basketball landscape and now can add the Wayne and Teresa Embry Fellowship recipient to the list. Winta Desta from Ottawa, Ontario is up next on the NPH Hour here on News Talk Saga 960